Welcome to Movie Decode. What if I told you that the platform is not actually about food? Most people watch this film and see a brutal survival story. They see hunger, violence, and a terrifying prison unlike anything they've ever imagined. It feels like a horror movie designed to shock us. But beneath the surface, it's one of the most powerful social commentaries ever put on screen. This movie is not about a prison. It is about us. It is about society. It is about how resources are distributed, how power works, and how people behave when they believe there is not enough for everyone. Today, we are going to break down the hidden layers of this masterpiece, decode its symbols, and explain what that confusing ending truly means. The first thing we need to understand is the structure of the prison itself, officially called the Vertical Self-Management Center. The vertical design is not random. It is a literal architectural model of a class-based society. Every single level represents a different economic position. Some people wake up at the top, where resources are abundant, fresh, and untouched. Others wake up at the bottom, where survival is nearly impossible because they only receive the garbage and scraps of those above them. But here is the most fascinating and terrifying rule of this prison: nobody earns their position. Every month, the prisoners are gassed, knocked unconscious, and randomly reassigned to a new level. You could be at level 6 today and level 150 tomorrow. This reflects one of the film's most important philosophical ideas. Much of what human beings have in life is determined by circumstances completely beyond their control. Where we are born, what opportunities we receive, what wealth is available to our families. The film violently challenges the capitalistic belief that success is always the direct result of hard work alone. In this world, the system can make you comfortable one month and turn you into a desperate animal the next. It proves that privilege is temporary and poverty is just a bad roll of the dice. Then, there is the platform itself. It descends once a day, carrying a massive feast, and here is the most critical detail in the entire story, confirmed by the officials. The platform carries enough food to feed every single person in the tower. Let that sink in. The problem in the prison is not scarcity. The problem is distribution. The movie suggests that our world has enough resources to sustain everyone equally. There is enough food, enough wealth, and enough land, but human behavior prevents those resources from being shared properly. People at the very top take far more than they actually need, simply because they can. They overindulge. As a result, the people below receive less and less, until eventually, past level 100, nothing remains but empty plates. This creates a vicious cycle of suffering. The film asks a difficult question. If everyone took only what they needed to survive, the system would work perfectly. So why don't they? Is selfishness an unavoidable part of a human nature? Or does the system itself force us to become selfish? To understand how society reacts to this inequality, the film uses the main character, Goreng, and his cellmates to represent different political ideologies. First, we meet Trimagasi. He represents cynical capitalism and compliance. He doesn't hate the system, he just accepts it. His famous phrase obviously shows his complete lack of empathy. When Goreng asks why they don't talk to the people below, Trimagasi answers, because they are below us. And why not talk to those above? Because they won't answer. He accepts his oppression when he is low and abuses his power when he is high. Later, Goreng meets Imogwiri, a former administrator who helped build the system. She represents naive idealism and failed bureaucracy. She enters the prison voluntarily, believing she can change it through peaceful persuasion. She tries to convince the people below her to ration their food voluntarily, but they ignore her. Her soft, polite words have zero power in a system driven by starvation. Finally, there is Bharat. He represents religious faith and forceful revolution. He tries to use a rope to climb to the top, trusting that those above will help him. Instead, they literally defecate on his face. Through these characters, the film shows that politeness fails, compliance destroys, and pure faith is mocked. This brings us to one of the deepest psychological themes of the movie: how position shapes perspective. People who live on the higher levels fail to understand the reality faced by those below them. From their perspective, everything seems fine. Food is available, life is manageable. The suffering happening beneath them is completely invisible, so they convince themselves it doesn't exist. This mirrors real life perfectly. Wealthy individuals or stable societies often judge the poor, asking why they turn to crime or violence without ever experiencing the starvation that drives those choices. The movie reminds us that where we stand influences what we see, and what we see influences what we believe. A good person at level 3 becomes a monster at level 150. It's not because their soul changed, it's because their environment demanded it. But what is the ultimate force keeping this broken system alive? It isn't guards or weapons, it is fear. Fear is the most powerful tool of psychological control. When people believe resources are limited, they immediately switch to survival mode. Fear turns neighbors into competitors. Fear destroys trust. Fear encourages extreme selfishness. Once fear takes control of a society, cooperation becomes nearly impossible. This is why the prison remains trapped in a permanent cycle of conflict. Everyone is hyper-focused on their immediate survival for the next 30 days. No one has the mental energy or security to think about a collective, long-term solution. The movie brilliantly suggests that systems built on fear are designed to prevent meaningful change. As long as the lower classes are fighting each other for crumbs, they will never look up and overthrow the creators of the tower. Realizing that peaceful words don't work, Goring and Baharat decide to use force. They become riders of the platform, traveling down with weapons to enforce equal distribution. They decide to protect one specific luxury dessert, a panna cotta, to send back to level 0 as a message to the creators of the system. This part of the film represents a violent revolution. It shows that sometimes, to break a corrupt system, you have to force people to cooperate at the point of a weapon. But notice the irony. In order to ensure everyone gets food, Goring and Baharat have to beat and kill the very people they're trying to save. The film exposes the tragic paradox of revolution. Can you use violence to create a society based on empathy? By the time they reach the lowest levels, both men are dying, bleeding out, and losing their minds. The cost of changing the system is total self-destruction. Now, let's talk about the highly debated, deeply confusing ending. At the very bottom, level 333, Goring finds a young girl. She is clean, healthy, and untouched by the horror of the tower. This breaks the rules of the system, which claim no children under 16 were allowed. Goring feeds her the panna cotta. She becomes a new message. When the platform arrives at the absolute bottom, Goring steps off into the dark void with the ghost of Trimagasi. The young girl rides the platform alone, ascending back to the top at incredible speed. What does this mean? Why did the movie refuse to give us a simple, happy resolution? There are two primary interpretations. The first is the literal interpretation. The girl represents innocence and the future. By preserving her, Goring proves that humanity can still protect its youth even in the darkest hell. Sending her to the top forces the creators to realize their system has failed and that the human spirit survived. She is a symbol of hope and undeniable truth. The second is the metaphorical interpretation. Many film theorists believe that level 333 is death. Mathematically, 333 levels with 2 people per level equals 666 prisoners, the number of the beast. Goring dies of his wounds before the platform ever goes back up. The little girl is not real. She is a hallucination born from his dying guilt. The panna cotta was eaten. The revolution failed, and the girl ascending to the light is just Goring's soul finding peace as he accepts his sacrifice. Regardless of which interpretation you choose, the ending serves a brilliant cinematic purpose. It shifts the focus away from the characters and onto the concept. The movie isn't asking if Goring saved the day, it's asking if we, the society watching the screen, are willing to change. At its core, the platform is a psychological mirror. It asks whether we will choose selfishness or cooperation when things get tough, whether we will ignore the suffering of others because we are currently comfortable, or whether we will confront it. These questions extend far beyond the walls of that fictional prison. They apply to the world we live in every single day. Our wealth gaps, our global food waste, and our political divisions. The real horror of the platform isn't the gore or the cannibalism on screen. The real horror is recognizing how much of our everyday world looks exactly like that tower. What do you think the ending really means? Was the girl a real symbol of hope, or was she just a dying dream? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Movie Decode, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss our next breakdown of the hidden meanings behind your favorite cinema. Until next time.